Hiring has become slower, noisier, and more impersonal. Employers are dealing with AI-written resumes, unqualified applications, candidate ghosting, and long scheduling delays. Job seekers are frustrated because they apply, wait, and often never hear back. Guhuza is approaching this problem differently by making hiring live again, helping employers and candidates connect directly through real-time interviews instead of relying only on resumes, job posts, and long back and forth scheduling. Today, we are going to talk about live recruiting, AI matching, why real conversations still matter, how employers can hire faster, and how technology can make hiring more human rather than less human. Welcome to another edition of the Smart Office Podcast. I am your host, Hippolyte Asah. I am an AI implementation engineer, and I help small businesses use practical AI systems to improve operations, client experience, and growth. Today, I am excited to welcome Marc Belaiche, president and founder of Gohosa. Gohosa is a live interview marketplace that helps employers and job seekers connect directly through the platform. Employers can upload a job, allow Guhuza's matching technology to identify top candidates, and interview qualified job seekers live with integrated video. Guhuza also supports skills, testing, and background checks as part of the hiring workflow. Marc, welcome to the Smart Office Podcast.
Thanks, Hippolyte. Great to be here.
Marc, I was really excited to talk to you and know about Guhuza because your platform is built around something hiring has almost lost: real conversations. A lot of recruiting technology tries to automate more steps, filter more resumes, and push people deeper into systems. But Guhuza's message is different: get employers and candidates talking live faster. That matters because resumes are becoming less reliable, AI-generated applications are increasing, and both employers and job seekers are frustrated by delays and ghosting. Guhuza's own knowledge base describes live interview as a way to streamline hiring compared to traditional job boards by combining matching, direct employer engagement, and real-time interviews. So how are you doing today?
Everything's good.
Great. So I'm glad to have you here. I think this conversation, we're going to talk about a lot of things: staffing firms, HR leaders, job seekers, where the trend is now, the hiring, where we see hiring going today in 2026, and how it's going to go in the future. We're going to equally talk about the technologies that are trending and how people are using different technologies to help with candidate experience and human judgment. So, Marc, let's start with your story, right? Before we get into live interviews and recruiting technology, can you share your story? What led you into hiring or staffing or job boards or eventually Guhuza?
Thanks. So going back really to the early days, I was born in Toronto. I went to school through the Bachelor of Commerce program at University of Toronto, and that was actually the path to becoming a CPA. But it turns out that I guess my accounting calling wasn't really where I was going to end up in my career. And you learn different things and different paths of where your career is going to go. So I did my CPA, and then did accounting for about 8 years or so. And then I just got into I saw an ad in the newspaper way back then. This is back in 1995. Saw an ad in the paper for somebody in recruitment, somebody to start up a recruiting office, and they were looking for a CPA. And I thought I'd apply. It's a little bit outside the box, and
Yeah.
went for the interview. And that was 30 years ago, and been in this space for all this time.
So, when someone hears the name Guhuza, what do you want them to understand about the company's mission?
Sure. So the company's mission is really embodied in the name itself. So the name itself, Guhuza, means to connect in Rwanda,
Right.
Kinyarwanda, out of Africa. And when we came up with a name, we could have easily called it, live or interview or jobs or things like that,
Right.
resume,
Right.
whatever. But we wanted to really embody the word connect, because that is our mission. Our mission is to connect employers and job seekers as seamlessly, as frictionless as possible, to basically help job seekers find jobs faster and help
Right.
employers find employees quicker.
So what problem did you see in traditional recruiting that made the Guhuza so necessary? Like during your experience, what problem are you seeing that you think can be solved by Guhuza?
Yeah. So, at the time when we thought about Guhuza, it was 2021. So at
Right,
the time, kind of 25 years of experience with recruiters and employers and staffing firms and job seekers and
right,
all the frustrations. But it really boiled down to a few problems on each side. So employers, how long it takes to fill a position.
right.
On average, 30 to 35 days to fill a position, which we thought was just way too long.
Too long.
And then when we really boiled it down was, well, why is it taking so long? And a lot of it had to do with how long it takes between the time a company has a job to the time they start interviewing candidates for that first interview. It just sometimes it's like days, sometimes it's weeks, and that eats into that whole process, and that's why it extends it. So again, on the employer side, it was like the length. That's really what we focused on, how long it took.
Mhm.
And then on the job seeker side, we really focused on the problem about how, that job seekers go online, they search for jobs, they find 5, 10, 20 jobs, whatever it is, and they apply after tweaking their resume and cover letter. And then in 95% of the cases, they never hear back from their application. And so we just thought there must be a better way to
There must be
solving
better.
both of these problems on one platform. And
Right.
hence the mission of Guhuza to connect faster.
Wow, that's a real problem, and it's something sometimes clients as well as job seekers just feel that they are being ignored. Nobody knows about them. But Gohosa's site says the old way of hiring involved waiting, ghosting, uncertainty, while the new is affected by fake or AI written resumes and robotic hiring process. What do you think is the most broken in hiring today? Like, which area is it? Too many applications or resume, like resume inflation or AI written? I'm trying to look like a lot of people are asking these questions, both the candidates as well as the client or the employer who is looking to act. Like, they feel like something is broken. Given your own opinion, what do you think is broken?
And well, there's a few things that I just mentioned, but I'd
Yeah.
say, finding one thing that's broken and only one thing, that's pretty hard because there's a lot of things that are broken.
Right.
But I'd say if the biggest problem is just how long it takes for people to get jobs and for companies to hire. That whole
Right.
process is just way too long. And these are not just problems that happen in Toronto where we were founded and developed, but it happens across Canada, North America, and around the world every single day. There's
Mhm.
tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of hours, maybe even millions of hours every single day that's wasted on just the connection part of it. Just
Right.
connecting two people together between rescheduling and
Mhm.
and checking resumes, reviewing resumes, people applying, all that kind of stuff. It's many, many, many hours
Right.
around the world every single day that's being used just to connect those two people. So that's kind of our vision. Our vision and our mission is just to make that whole process a lot faster.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Do you, given your own experience over the last couple of years, do you think it has become worse or better over the last years? Where do you see the trend? Does it, is it affected by the market or the labor market? What, what, what have you noticed and what's your experience over the last couple of years like? Been like,
Yeah, I mean, in some ways it's got better. And if we're talking about employers or job seekers, in some ways it's got better and in some ways it's got worse. So I'll give you one or two examples on both. So how it's got better, you know, technology platforms like Guhuza, it just makes things faster. It just makes it
okay.
improves the connection a lot faster. Technology in general, has made things a lot easier too, like things like Zoom or
Yeah.
Teams or Google Meet, like, the ability for people to meet on the go, like,
Yeah.
without a lot of, having to
Scheduling,
drive to someone
drive.
and,
Yeah.
setting up an interview. Like I came from a world where we didn't have Zoom in the early days, so you had to physically meet the person. You
Meet the
could talk
person.
to them
Yeah.
on the phone, but you had to physically meet them. So those are a couple of examples of how things are better. How things are worse. Yeah, I mean the job market has changed. That's not, a lot of jobs have been replaced by or displaced maybe by AI and what
Right.
AI can do for companies that they don't need to hire as many people. So that's, maybe worse. And then another thing that say AI has created on a negative thing is that people are using like are looking at a job description and are looking at the resume and just using AI to flower up their resume to make it seem like they are the best candidate for that position. And that has done is that has created more applications to recruiters, more resumes that talent acquisition people have to go through in order to schedule those interviews. And also a problem with the recruiters is that they don't know who's good anymore. They don't know who the best candidates are anymore because all the
Yeah.
resumes look the same.
The same. Yeah.
So these are problems that, things that have improved over the last few years and things that have gotten worse.
Yeah. Some people say there's job seekers out there or candidates who may say, well, the labor market is it has been the cause, and people are trying to do whatever thing it takes to get a job. What impact has the labor market on the way recruitment is done, or either slowing it, getting it faster, or the competitiveness in the labor market, as well as maybe client engagement? Is there an impact with regards to either the time it takes to hire or the kind of candidates that are pulling or the impact of AI? What's your opinion?
Sorry, what's my opinion on how AI has improved things? Is that what you said?
The impact of the labor market. The labor market, is there any impact in terms of if the labor market is firing on or slowing down in terms of more hiring or more candidates? Where do you see it trending? Is it trending towards more clients looking for employers looking for candidates, or candidates looking for, so supply and demand in terms of the labor market? What impact has it got in terms of the speed in hiring?
Yeah. So, I always like if you think of the Panama Canal, right? So yeah, the
Right.
Panama Canal has locks, right? And that, some
Okay.
boats are in the lower end and they're
Mhm.
moving higher or vice versa, right?
Mhm.
They start high and then
Right.
they start low. And I've always kind of had this concept in my mind in the recruiting space because there's always like boats that are high and there where
Oh yeah.
there's, high demand and good wages, and then there's low demand and
Right.
maybe lower wages because there's not as many jobs perhaps, right? So in today's world, the one that sticks out, the job numbers that really stick out right now is the youth unemployment rate, the youth market, the youth
Right.
job market. In Canada, the rates have gone up to 15, 16%. In the US, it's around 12, 11, 12%, depending on the state, depending on the geographic
Right.
area and so on, depending on the type of role, but overall. And these are incredibly high rates of unemployment. And there's many contributing factors to that has driven that youth unemployment rate a lot. You can blame a lot of different factors, but the youth unemployment is really challenging right now. But then even within certain areas like administrative assistance, for example,
Right.
years ago, you'd have a president of a business, of a company that would have an administrative assistant. And in today's world with chat, GPT, the technologies
Yeah. The thing
available, that administrative assistant may not be
necessary.
as necessary, right? So
Yeah, it's been replaced.
yeah, so you have very, a lot of different things in marketing. Like marketing used to be marketing, you'd have to, a lot of marketing people, but now like with the tools that are available for marketing people, you can get a lot of stuff done in relatively short amount of time compared to what you used to do. I mean, writing articles or writing marketing materials or even designing visuals, with
Right.
AI generated marketing, images that can be done. It's pretty, it has changed that area. So but at the same time, like while all that's going on, you've got areas you know, that are growing. So you've got, data centers are being built, like tons of data centers, and that's creating spin-off job opportunities.
Mhm.
Knowledge of AI and how it impacts data analytics because there's a lot more
Right.
data. So someone who understands data analytics, that's become a lot more important. Cybersecurity also has become more important. So there, and then you have all these other nuances about manufacturing, like where the manufacturing jobs are going, and so on. So there's a lot of different things
Yeah.
all playing together all at once.
So, yeah, I mean, let's talk about Guhuzas and how Guhuza can help in this hiring and tech world. Guhuza's Help Center says its technology automatically matches a candidate's resume to the right job opportunities. Actually, they're saying the process, and they make the process faster for everyone. What makes AI matching useful when it's done well? Can you tell us? I know there are pros and cons about AI. It's just like the internet has pros and cons. If you use it well, and the AI has come to stay. It looks like the genie is out of the bottle. It's not going to go back in. So, what makes AI matching useful, despite the challenges that recruiters may face, or hiring is facing, or headhunters are facing? What's your advice, or how when it comes to those?
Well, so one of the things that we started with certain baseline understandings or thoughts about the whole Guhuza model is that when somebody gets a ping, like a text or email or push notification to the app about a live interview happening for a job that matches their background, we wanted to have just, the basic, can this person do the job? We only wanted to send messages to, can the person do the job based on their resume? And what Guhuza avoids is a scenario where somebody's got like 10, 20 different types of resumes. And hey, I'm going to pull this one out if you have this type of job, and I'm going to pull this one out if you have this type of job. So we just start with a base assumption: can the person do the job? And if they can, then we want to send the messages to invite them to live interviews. Now, what does that mean? Can the person do the job? And in the recruiting world, in my world, I can, take a resume and take a job. And, if it's in my wheelhouse, which is accounting for me, I can say, yeah, you know what, generally this person can do the job, worth a call.
Yeah.
Can the person not do the job, then they don't get pinged for a live interview. So from my perspective, and from Guhuza's perspective, is like we just want to alert people who can do the job, who would probably be interested in that job,
Right.
and presumably will come in for a live interview. So as we're getting more sophisticated, more data, we want to be sending invitations for jobs, not only that match. So the matching part of it is like, we're there, but now it's like, okay, is it likely that this person's going to respond? Like, are they going to come into the waiting room? Maybe we've sent them 5 jobs, between 9 and 3, and they haven't accepted any of those invitations. But at 4 o'clock, they did accept an invitation to come in. So maybe between 9 and 3 is not a good time for them to come in for live interview. So it's not even just about, can the person do the job anymore, and does the resume match the job description? It's now about, will the person come into the waiting room? Is it a job that they want? If we haven't heard from them a few times, if they've been pinged and they're not interested, they're not, perhaps they're not looking for a job anymore. Perhaps we don't want to ping them anymore.
Right.
So these are all, beautiful things that have really now played into the equation to make
Yeah.
this thing even, get even better, to
Yeah.
deliver jobs, live interviews for candidates that are active, that they're, ready to jump in the waiting room, and we want to get those in as quickly as possible.
I mean, that's an amazing technology. I mean, people are out there and candidates, employers are out there, they really don't know what Gohosa is offering because, as you said earlier, um, employers are frustrated, candidates are frustrated. Nobody wants to look for a job and takes forever to look for a job. People want it faster. But what are the biggest mistakes employers make after they get access to better hiring technology? Let's say we're moving towards where technology is incorporated at every level. Have you observed any errors in the industry, what employers are making, and what do you recommend? What's your advice?
Yeah, for sure. Well, 2 or 3 mistakes that I see employers are making. On one side, they're not adopting the technology. They're not adopting things that are available to them. They're waiting because they are like, hey, you know what? It's worked for us for 5 years, 10 years,
5
20
years, yeah.
years, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
So why do we have to make any changes at all? So on the
Mm-hmm.
one hand, it's like not adopting it, what tools that are really great that they can use. And then there's the other side of it, which is like companies that are adopting technology, that they don't really need, right? It's not fixing a problem for them. Like maybe they were told, hey, this is a great product, but do they really need it? Are their systems broken? So, for example, not just about the interview side of it, but even the testing or background checks or so on and so forth.
Right.
Like maybe their systems have been working well and they have not had a lot of turnover. They've been hiring really great. Maybe they don't need the new technology because their current processes are okay. So you have both sides, people that are not using it that should be,
Right.
or and not, are not even like they have their blinders on, that they're not even like wanting to know or wanting to try. And then the other ones where they're doing it, but it's not fixing any problems for them. It's not
Yeah.
fixing anything.
Yeah, it's not just adopting. It's just they call it the fear of missing out. Like they just adopt it, but they're not using it well. So, I mean, with the adoption of technology and tech and incorporation of AI, which parts of hiring should always remain human-led? I mean, I see what Guhuza is doing, the live interviews. Other than that, do you have any other part that you may suggest you think it should be human-led rather than incorporated?
Yeah, so for sure, the interview part of it needs to be
Right,
done by a person, right? Like that's our core fundamental that we'll connect the people, but a human has to interview a human, kind of thing,
right,
right? As far as other aspects of the human side of it, I think it's showing like an office, right? Like showing the company, walking them through, like getting them to know the other people on the team. I mean, it's one thing to do an
right,
interview, like say I was interviewing you. It's one thing for us to do a virtual interview like this,
right,
but it's another thing for you to come in and say, I have an office and I want to show you the location, like have
right.
you meet other people on the team, to really get a good sense as to like, hey, is this person a good fit? And that can't be replaced by AI. It's just you can't
Maybe
shake hands
virtual.
with somebody,
Maybe
right?
virtual walkthrough. I mean, people are creating everything now. Virtual walkthrough, walking you through the
Yeah.
virtual office and things like that. I feel like when it comes to hiring, I mean, everything that is being seen, just like you said earlier, where you have the resumes being reviewed by AI, the resume is created by AI, reviewed by AI, scheduled by AI, and probably now the Guhuza is offering that, okay, you must see somebody. The way things are moving, there's probably going to avatar interviews where they're going to create a human of Marc Belaiche, who's going to be sitting there looking like real human in the office, but who is not Marc Belaiche, who's going to be interviewing candidates. Where it's your avatar going to be doing that interview. And it's getting to a point where because of the volume of resume being created, it's moving that trend. But as you said, they should be human led. But what I've noticed often, I don't know if it's true or not, more and more companies are moving towards cultural and values based interviews rather than skill based. Have you noticed that? What can you say that in terms of when it comes to the trend in hiring?
Yeah, I mean, over 30 years of being in this business, I've heard all kinds of patterns, right? Like
Right.
where it's been can the person do the job, and then it's gone to skills, and then a combination of skills and fit, and then
Yeah.
it's
Is a
cultural,
person
like can the
is a
person
person
fit in? Yeah, like there's so many like and it comes in waves, and it almost seems like somebody comes up with a concept, maybe somebody writes a book who's well respected in the work world, or has views of where, the future of work is. And what happens is everybody jumps onto that, and that runs for 6 months, a year, maybe a couple of
Mhm.
years, and then there's some other framework that comes into play. So where are we in right now? I feel like right now it's more skills based. Like that's
Right.
can the
Okay.
person do the job, but also
Right.
like, don't worry about the culture and the fit and all that kind of stuff because that comes later.
Mhm.
But, I think, again, over 30 years, I think that, there's certain patterns, there's certain consistencies that I don't think you can replace. Yes, can the person do the job? For sure. But doesn't have to be, because in today's world, with Chat, Perplexity, Claude, Gemini, YouTube, right? There's so many tools to help people with those jobs, right?
Yeah.
And personality and fit. And, that percentage has always gone up and down over the years, like depending on who you hear from and talk to. But my rule of thumb is like, it's somewhere between 0 to 100 for fit and
Yeah.
0 to 100 for technical skills. So
Mm.
in certain things, it's like, 80% technical, 90% technical, and 10 or 20% fit. So, for example, you know, you want a pilot that can fly a plane,
Clear.
right? As somebody who's got like, great fit, great, would make a great
Listen,
pilot, but it has like 10% of the skills required
skills.
to fly a plane,
Right.
right? Whereas, maybe in a customer service role, it might be 90% personality and fit. And you know what? We can train the rest because
Right.
it's kind of, we'll,
Yeah.
we'll onboard them and we'll get them trained and they can work with other people. So I think, it depends on the role, depends on industry, depends on geography sometimes, right? Depends on, who the customers are, like who the stakeholders are, as to what is more important, whether it's skills,
Right.
culture, fit, personality and all that. So it's a really hard one because I've done these, I've placed people in tax roles
Right.
and their technical skills are spot on, like, 80,
Mm.
90%, 100% score, but their culture and fit is 0.
Off. Is
But
there-
it's okay because they're technically strong,
right.
and
Yeah.
that's what you need. You need a tax person that really understands what it is. So the technical side of it is very high required. So it's hard to just say across the board blanket, it's about this, it's about that, in today's world, because it changes like every day.
So, I mean, we're talking here, we're talking 2026. Candidates are asking a lot of questions based on the challenges they have. They're like, AI is creating more jobs or AI is taking jobs out. As you said, most candidates feel ghosted based on the labor market. I was speaking with one yesterday, say since October, and she hasn't even had an interview. She's in healthcare, so she hasn't even had an interview, just to be called for an interview. And for those who have so feeling ghosted, as you said, I'm going to recommend if she's listening, hopefully she can download Guhuza and try it. And then there are others who get called, they receive just thank you messages for applying. I mean, those letters are being generated by AI. There are so many candidates out there that have the skills. What can you advise? How can they distinguish themselves from the lot, given the nature of the competitiveness of the labor market today?
Well, I'd say like don't pretend to be somebody else, right? Just list your resume, have your skills. Like don't try to be somebody you're not, right? Just be who you are.
So somebody will try that for 6 months and then it doesn't feel like, well, people are getting ahead of me because they're using AI or they're doing something. Then they say, oh, maybe our resume is this. They find themselves in a cycle where after some time, you feel like maybe it's my resume. Maybe I need to take it to a professional, or maybe I need to get AI to do it for me because I don't really know how to do it. And then employers, on the other hand, are feeling like, okay, these are generated. How can we distinguish? How they find themselves? So at the end of the day, some feel like AI has just come to not help employees or candidates. Both worlds are suffering, but those who suffer the most are really the candidates because they need the jobs and they don't know. They are confused. They don't really know how to distinguish themselves. They don't know how to get the attention of the hiring manager. Any short answer maybe to them?
So don't try to be somebody you're not. Just do it like it is. Sure, use chat. Sure, use AI to improve your resume to make sure you don't have spelling, grammatical, to make it clearer, to communicate better as to what your responsibilities were. But really, over the years, like I've had these. I've heard so many things from job seekers, and they've been told one thing, and they do this thing, and this their friend got a job because they feel they did this right job, and it's like there are no magical secrets to say your resume has to be like this or has to do this, and that will guarantee that you will get a job or an interview. It just doesn't work that way. Sure, there's parameters about a resume and 2 pages and clear and font and size of font and so on. But realistically, you're looking at situations where you want. Yes, you can try to stand out, but you're going to just be fooling yourself if you're trying to elevate yourself to a level because you want to make it seem like you're more than capable of doing a job. You're going to start the job and you're going to end up going, the person's going to realize, your boss is going to realize that this person is not anywhere close to what their resume appeared to be. But I would
Y-
say, you know what, have your resume, you got your resume, and just run with it. I equate the resume to somebody in a store, somebody who runs a store, and
Right.
you don't have any customers coming into your store. So what do? You say, well, the
Mm,
reason why customers aren't coming to my store is because, I have the soup over here, and I should move it to the front of the store, or I
Right.
should take the vegetables and it's in aisle 1, and I should move it to aisle 3 because it's easier for a customer. Your problem is not customers coming in.
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry,
So,
you probably is not the layout of your store. The problem is you don't have customers coming in. So don't try to reshuffle the store to say, hey, by doing this, more customers will come in. The problem is a different type of.
right.
The problem is
Diagnose
different,
the problem. So,
right? So,
my answer to that, quick
yeah,
answer to that is that check on Guhuza. Check
that's
on
right.
Guhuza.
That's right.
Go on Guhuza, register on Guhuza. You get a lot of advice there. So my last question would
Yeah.
be just one last question. So what are you working on in the next 12 months? Do you have any projects in terms of
Yeah.
what's in there for the next 6 to
Yeah.
12
So,
months of Guhuza?
we got a cool. We're working on something really cool, and I'll share it with you and your viewers. And that is that what we're doing is we're creating a link whereby somebody can put that, like, a unique code that people
Yeah.
can put on their resume, and
Okay.
an employer, if they're interested in that person, can click on that link and immediately sends a message to the candidate saying ABC company is ready, wants to interview you for this job.
Wow. Okay.
And
Wow.
that will just speed up the process, because right now the workflow for a recruiter is, I get a job, I get, I get a resume, I have to reach out to that person, I email them, call them, maybe text them, I go back and forth, I maybe share my calendar with them, and they schedule a time, and then they goes back and forth, maybe that's like 2 days later. Then 2 days arrives, and 15 minutes before that interview, somebody has to cancel the interview, reschedule it
Right.
because something happened. Somebody's sick, somebody's a kid, somebody's this and that, whatever. So we just thought, wouldn't it be just great if a recruiter saw a resume that, and there was a code, just like an email, just like a LinkedIn profile, but there's a URL that the employer clicks on, it launches a window that the recruiter can interview the candidate right on the spot. The recruiter has
That's
the
great. I mean,
right?
continue to enhance and facilitate for candidates. That's good. So for those who don't know Guhuza, for those who want to connect, download the app or whatever thing, probably can you explain how they could get to Guhuza and what they need, any prerequisite, any cost to it, and how they could get their resumes up so that employers can take a look at it?
Yeah, for sure. So so feel free to visit Guhuza.com, Guhuza, and Americans Guhuza.com. It's very easy to upload your resume. There's no cost to doing that. And we're on all the social media as well: Facebook, Twitter, X, LinkedIn, TikTok, Snapchat. You can
Right.
follow us. But yeah, it starts with just a resume. Just upload your resume,
Perfect.
answer a few questions, verify your email and your phone number, and you're set. And we'll ping you when there's a live interview that matches your background. It
Wow,
can't be any
that's good.
easier.
Well, Mark, thank you very much for joining me on this Smart Office podcast. I really appreciate your insight on living life hiring, air matching, and candidate experience. The workflow that you continuously improve upon to make it easier for candidates, that's the most important part of this, and how technology can really help people get back to real conversations faster. It's really been a pleasure talking to you, and hopefully Guhuza is the pace helping candidates and employers really get into this. I really appreciate your time joining me on this podcast. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Hippolyte. Great chatting with you. Good topic.
Thank you.